Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cinema Heroes. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Alex Thomas.
And we're also joined by my sister Janelle. She's joining us again to be our book expert. And today we are talking about Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Released in 2009, directed by David Yates. Alex with the beautiful steelbook still. Written by Steve Kloves, based on the novel by J.K. Rowling, and starring Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, Emma Watson, of course, Alan Rickman, Michael Gambon. Bonnie Wright is a little bit bigger of a presence in this movie. And we have newcomer Jim Broadbent, newcomer to the series, not newcomer to acting. Jim Broadbent as Professor Horace Slughorn. We also have Helen McCrory as Narcissa Malfoy, who, according to IMDb Trivia, was originally cast as Bellatrix Lestrange, but had to back out of it because of a pregnancy. And so they cast Helena Bonham Carter, but then they brought Helen McCrory in to play Narcissa. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then a couple other new students that we hadn't seen before. Jesse Cave as Lavender Brown, Freddie Stroma as Cormac McLagan. And I think that's pretty much it. There's a couple of returning people, you know. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. Interestingly enough, I don't think Voldemort's not in this movie, is he? He's hiding in the shadows in the film.
Hiding in the shadows.
We don't see him. Yeah.
Which I'm not mistaken. He is in the book, though, right? If I'm not mistaken, he is in the book. Is he in the book in this one? I think he is. This is the one book
Do you remember, Janelle? Does Voldemort make an appearance?
Now that you say that, it didn't really occur to me until you said that, but I don't think he is.
Okay.
So he's just a presence, you know.
Yeah.
But everybody kind of accepts that he's back because they, you know, Cornelius Fudge saw him and all that. Yeah. So I think
the
it's
events
kind of
the last movie.
Right. It's not like in Goblet of Fire where nobody believes Harry. So when I saw this in the theater, and I think I had recently read the book because I remember walking out of the theater going, what was that? Like I had like a negative reaction to the film. I remember thinking, you know, the Half-Blood Prince, when that's revealed, I thought it was just so glossed over in the movie.
Yes.
And it was the first Harry Potter movie that I didn't really like. And so I was really interested in rewatching it today. I'm going to get into what you guys thought about it when you saw it for the first time. But I just want to say, watching it again this time, I kind of felt the same way.
Wow. Really?
I don't think I like this movie that much.
Wow.
Yeah. So we'll start with Alex.
I'm curious.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious as to why. Well, no,
sure.
Because I remember you saying that you didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I was curious if your experience would be different this time around. So I'm interested to hear why.
Yeah.
Alex, what did you think when you saw it the first time?
So I didn't see this one in the theater. I ended up seeing this when it dropped on DVD. Either dropped on DVD or HBO, one of those two. And that's how I watched it. And right off the bat, I'm a Harry Potter fan regardless of when it comes to the movies and the books. So I liked it, but it just didn't, just like you said, like the main point of the movie wasn't in the movie. The Half-Blood Prince title wasn't a factor in it. So it kind of like, it was like, okay, it felt, it obviously it's a setup movie for what's coming next is the big battle. That's what this whole movie is, setting up, you know, figuring out the Horcruxes, what Voldemort's plan is. That's what the crux of this movie is. And it just, I don't know. I do not like the way this movie looks, like the way it's shot. It just looks black and white. Like, where's the color? Like, I understand we're getting darker and darker and darker as the movies go on, but if you watch the next movie, there's at least a little color in that movie. I don't know what was the director's choice with the theme of this movie, why it looks the way it looks. I mean, even some of the performances
desaturated. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Some of the performances are just a little off a little bit. Like I think Dan Radcliffe has came out and said he does not like his performance in this movie.
Right.
But it's just it was weird when I first saw it. I've grown to enjoy it, you know, as I've watched it multiple times. I just look at it as just a setup movie for Deathly Hallows at this point.
Yeah.
Sounds like I'm the only one that really likes it. But I do agree with you because I was thinking about that. I was like, it's called Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. And so Snape is obviously a very big, it's supposed to be, you know, a very big part, but yeah, it's really not, at least in the reveal, like you said, of him being the Half-Blood Prince.
Right.
Obviously the big pivotal moment, in the movie. Snape is in the center of it,
right.
but yeah, I totally get what you mean.
Yeah, I remember, and in the beginning when he first finds the book and we see that it's the property of the Half-Blood Prince, it helps him get through the potions class, and he does like become a little obsessed with the book. He's constantly reading it, and Ron says something about how he goes to sleep with it, but then it's kind of forgotten about after that. And he does use that spell on Malfoy, which I remember was a big deal in the book. But I don't, and maybe I just wasn't paying attention enough, because I will be honest, I lost a little interest in this movie, which is maybe part of the problem. But I don't remember him or them showing us that he got that spell from the book. It was just like Snape recognized the spell. Yeah, then later says, "You dare use my spells against me." So I was like,
in the movie, they mention it one time, and you see the spell name, and they do like the little book inversion thing where they do like the showing the book and stuff like that. You see the spell name, but that's it. And after that, it's not it. There's a whole like I don't know what's weird. They spend a lot of time in winter in this movie. It just always blows my mind that it's like winter time so long in this movie. Like, it just blows my mind. But that whole time, that's why we forget about it, because we spend the whole time with them going to the party. We go to Ron's house, and then the house gets attacked. Yeah, like so that whole time, it's like it's just forgotten about that he has this book.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess I missed that part, but
because they just show it,
right?
Like, in that book, he sees it like right before that kind of happens. So if you're not paying attention, if you look away,
right,
you're gonna miss it.
You wouldn't even.
Which I probably did. Well, I remember Janelle, before we watched this movie, and I think it was even before you reread Half-Blood Prince. You did mention that you thought some of the later movies, and I was thinking this movie in particular, it was almost like the filmmakers expected you to have read the book. It was like they didn't do as good of a job of making this film for people who hadn't read the book. It's kind of a bummer that Stu wasn't able to join us tonight, because he's the only one out of all of us who hasn't read the book.
Right.
And I was really wanting, I was really interested in his take at the end of the film when we find out. Well, we'll just get, if you haven't watched Half-Blood Prince, you should watch it before you listen to us.
Yeah.
When I really wanted to find out what his thoughts were when Dumbledore died. Was he expecting that? Did he know? Had it been spoiled for him? And when Snape was the one that did it, what was that like for somebody who had, I'm assuming didn't know it was coming? Was he just like, what? Because we had all read the book, and I don't remember what my reaction was when I read the book. I just don't recall. But I knew it was coming in the movie. I was waiting for it, and I knew Snape was going to be the one that did it himself. So, but anyway, I'd be curious to know if there's any stuff in this movie for Stu, who hasn't read the book, that he just doesn't understand or doesn't get why a character's doing this or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, even the character of Snape, he's just, we kind of know he's like playing both sides. At least we know who read the book. We could tell he's playing both sides. But this one, it feels like he's like, we don't know what his intentions are, especially when he does kill Dumbledore. And then obviously in later, the next book, it just reveal why that happens. But the one that I can say is Alan Rickman is playing the hell out of this role. Like, he was born to play Snape. He is milking it throughout this entire movie. And I love that he has more of a more central role in this movie. Because he's kind of glossed over in the other movies.
Actually, my favorite kind of parts of this whole movie are with him and with Malfoy. I find Malfoy was not really a presence in the last movie. And he showed up a little bit, I think, in Goblet of Fire. He's been kind of just this bully character who's really hasn't had a whole lot to do other than just be a pain in Harry Potter's behind. And so seeing him in this movie with his task and his confliction, it made him so much more of a complex character, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then the whole relationship between him and Snape and what Snape had to, I like that part of the movie a lot.
Yeah.
It's kind of all the other stuff that I just, once we get to the end with Dumbledore and Snape and Malfoy and all that, I love all that.
Yeah.
It's just getting there that kind of is a little bit of a chore for me.
All the teenage stuff where everyone is
right,
trying to figure out where their feelings are. Especially when it comes to Harry and Ginny, that it's so weird because it kind of does just come out of nowhere. It's like he's just not realizing that he likes Ginny, like, and it's not really explained. It's just he shows up at the house and he looks at her, it's like, oh yeah, I like her now. It's like,
he's like,
okay, like last movie you didn't pay no attention. You were kissing Cho, and I understand they're teenagers, so that does happen.
Right.
But I mean, for us as we've been watching these movies, there's no setup for any of this, like at all.
Yeah.
And there was setup for the Ron and Hermione stuff, so I'm okay kind of with the Ron and Hermione stuff. However,
that's different.
And this is not being critical of the actress. I think the actress is fine, but Lavender is just so over the top. I think it's the way it's written or directed. She's she's such a caricature. She doesn't feel like a real character to me. She's just this lovesick person who like hates Hermione because
she definitely took some love potion. She definitely took some love potion without telling us.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe
telling us she took some love potion.
Maybe somebody had to test some love potion on her. And, yeah.
It's so funny. I'm on the scene right now where we're at the Weasley's little shop and they're looking at the love potions, and you see Lavender like looking a type of way. You see everyone looking at each other a type of way. And it's just it's weird. It's weird. That's the one thing I was like, man, I understand. They're teenagers getting the feels and stuff like that.
Right. I know, and I get that too. And
I think in the book she's like that too, though. In the book she's like that as well. Though.
Is she? Is Lavender pretty much a character basically?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But I was gonna ask, what did you all think of the wizard shop? The wizard Weasley.
I like it. It looks really fun. You know, I like the animatronic like tipping of the hat on the outside and everything. I think it'd be a fun shop to go to, I think.
I know isn't an actual place in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter? Is it an actual place to go?
It might be.
Did they make that yet? I'm surprised it's not. If it's not there, it should be there. That'd be a nice little attraction to go to, right?
Yeah. I was there in 2016 and I don't remember seeing it. Gringotts Bank was there with the dragon on top and all that. Right. But I don't remember seeing the Weasley's shop. So it's but I wouldn't be surprised if they've added it.
Right.
I did want to mention, since I had mentioned in the previous episode, in the book, Fred and George tell Harry that his money is no good at the shop. Like, he can have whatever he wants, basically, without having to pay.
Nice.
Because he gave them the startup money. And I was looking during the movie to see if they'd, like, put it, like, just a reference in there of some kind of, like, that Harry gave them the startup money, but they didn't.
Yeah, there's no mention of that. It's just, we're just assumed that they just started the shop and... Yeah. But, you know, maybe they've been saving or something, you know.
I don't think we need to hear the line, but hearing that Ron has to pay, like his brother has to pay, it's like, okay, something went on that he didn't do anything to help them do this, so he has to pay.
Yeah. I like that, though. That was pretty good.
That was funny.
Yeah. This movie also, one of the things I also kind of like about it is that it starts, the first images we see anyway are you know, right where Order of the Phoenix ended. Yes. You know, Harry's getting his picture taken and he's still bloodied from the battle and all that. I thought that was kind of cool. A cool, interesting choice.
Yeah, like it follows right into the next movie.
Right. We see all that even before I think we see the Harry Potter like logo, which I think is cool.
Yeah. You see the Warner Brothers logo first, and then you see like the flashes and stuff, and then they get
then the camera flashes and stuff. It's really cool. I will say though, I agree with you, Alex, about the color of the movie, the desaturation. When I noticed it throughout the movie, but I noticed it the most when Harry and Dumbledore are in that cave. Yeah. That is basically black and white. I mean, they've desaturated that so much. And I don't really understand that choice. There's also a couple of like editing choices that I don't totally love in this movie where he's trying to make it seem like chaotic or something, and it's I remember there's one moment in the cave where he like hears something or slips, and it's just like they cut to this shot, then this shot, then this shot, then this shot. And it's like all of Harry. It was like a little too much. There's also a little bit of that, I think, when they're chasing Bellatrix from the Weasley house and they're like running through the tall grass or the wheat or whatever that is. I think there's a lot of crazy cuts in that scene too that I'm just like, okay, calm down. It doesn't need to be so crazy.
Yeah, you're talking about at Ron's house. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on when it comes to the choices. And it's funny, I thought the theory was that he's trying to mimic the way the books look, like how the book title look. Like the book for Half-Blood Prince is green, so maybe he tried to throw a little
Right.
like greenish like saturation to the movie. And I thought that Order of the Phoenix has a lot of blues. 'Cause
Right.
that cover is blue.
Huh,
But
interesting.
I thought that as a theory. Like maybe that's the reason why
Right.
he chose to make this movie look that way.
I mean, it could be. I don't know.
I had a question about that scene since you brought up Bellatrix and what's the werewolf name?
Fenrir.
Yeah, Fenrir, when they visit the burrows and basically set it on fire. That's not in the book.
No.
Oh,
And
It's not.
I like asked myself when I was watching the movie, like, what purpose does this scene serve? So I wanted to ask you guys.
Action. We needed an action sequence that's why it's no action.
it could be exactly what Alex just said. They just needed another action beat before. Maybe it was like they needed something to break up the slow parts.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what it was for.
I couldn't remember what happened in that scene. So when Harry goes running and Lupin and Nymphadora are like, Harry, no. I was like, they're setting up a trap for him. Like they know Harry is going to run after Bellatrix. Like if Voldemort had been there, he could have just Avada Kedavra'd him like right then and been like, I win. Because Harry was just stupid to run after her like that. And so he's pretty lucky he didn't just get murdered.
I say I cried. They're all teenagers. He just going off instinct at this point. He wanted to go after her, so that's what's gonna happen. But you're right.
Right,
it was
but
set up for a
I'm
trap.
just saying Voldemort could have played off that.
Yeah, for sure. But that's the reason why that scene was put there. Just for there's no action. Literally there was no action between like I can't even think of the first action sequence before that. But there's literally no action happening at all. That's why they had to put that there.
But what are the character motivations? Like, why would Bellatrix, Lestrange, and Fenrir show up?
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all.
Just to burn the house down and then leave. It's it is weird.
Well, and it's weird because all they have to do is swing Reparo and everything is fixed. Like they have a spell to fix a house. Like so, doing that made no sense.
That's true. Yeah, we see Dumbledore do that in the very beginning of the movie when he goes to see Slughorn.
Like
he just fixes the house with a wave of his wand. So they could extinguish the fire. I'm sure there's a fire extinguishing spell. And then Reparo, and so it's like it's not really a big deal in the wizarding world. That's true.
Yeah. Because clearly in the next movie, the house is fine because they're having a wedding in the next movie.
You could argue a lot, like, it's hard to have stakes when you have spells that just, like, repair everything. Even bones. Like, we saw in Chamber of Secrets that he could just repair his, regrow bones, and it's not necessarily pleasant, but it's, possible. So it's, other than death, you can pretty much come back from anything in this universe,
Can't come back from the killing curse. Can't come back from that.
You can't come back from the killing curse, though. That's true. So, Janelle, what are some of the biggest changes from the book to the movie that you want to point out?
Well, the biggest one is probably the elimination of the battle at Hogwarts.
Right,
because, when the Death Eaters come through the Vanishing Cabinet, because Harry had given Hermione and Ron the lucky serum,
liquid luck,
and told them to take it and to alert Dumbledore's army. So any students that still had their coins to be alerted to be like on the lookout, and be patrolling the hall. And so clearly, when the Death Eaters came through the Vanishing Cabinet, some of the DA were ready and fighting, and then of course some of the orders show up as well. So there's actually like a battle going on in Hogwarts while Harry and Dumbledore and Draco are up on the tower.
Oh, wow.
And so like they just eliminated that, which was part of the reason why I wondered if that was why they included them going to the burrows and setting it on fire, because, to kind of make up for the lack of a battle at Hogwarts. So that's probably the biggest thing.
I read that they got rid of that battle because they knew there was going to be a big battle at Hogwarts in the next movie and didn't want to like diminish that.
Yep.
Right. And that makes sense. And I think the only big thing too that was eliminated, because of eliminating the battle, was Bill Weasley gets attacked by Fenrir, and they're like wondering if he's gonna become a werewolf, kind of thing.
And he explains it in Deathly Hallows. He explains it in Deathly Hallows Part 1.
Right. But But the thing that gets me with that is it's like a little like scratch. But in the book, he's like disfigured.
Right,
like
right.
he's, you know, I mean, it's a whole lot worse, but it's just like this little scratch. The other thing was they did eliminate one of the memories that Dumbledore shows Harry. And I was a little disappointed it wasn't in the movie because it was with Marvolo and Morphin and Merope. So Marvolo is Voldemort's grandfather.
Oh, right.
Morphin is his uncle and Merope is his mother. And it gives a little more context to the locket Horcrux because that was his mother's, and the Marvolo, the black ring, because that was Marvolo's ring. So Voldemort's grandfather's ring and his mother's locket. But without that vision, you don't really get that context.
Yeah, it's weird because they show us all these items, and like we said earlier, it felt like the director or the filmmakers thought we had to read the book to know what these items were, what their importance was. And I just felt like they kind of neglected all that. Like we see 2 memories from Voldemort, and even that isn't very deep dived into. We really don't understand why we're seeing these memories until a little bit later into the movie, and I feel like they kind of neglected all that stuff for the extra teenage drama love story stuff. Like they kind of like separated all that stuff from that, and it just feels weird that, like, you know, there's a big thing going on Voldemort's back, but we focusing on teenage love. You know, it's weird. You know. Yeah,
there was one place in the movie where I was like, what? And I was like, that's not right. That's not true. And it was when Dumbledore says that the Horcruxes are commonplace objects. He actually says the opposite in the book. He says, because Harry's like, oh, it's just like, you know, it could be anything.
Yeah.
And Dumbledore says, no, you're thinking of portkeys. Portkeys can be any, like, a boot or, you know. But the Horcruxes have sentimental value to Voldemort.
Yes, exactly.
Which is why it's his grandfather's ring, his mother's locket.
The diary.
Yeah, the diary. The other ones. I can't
remember either.
The other one, no, but one of them is, because remember, there's something from each of the heads of the houses of Hogwarts.
Oh, okay.
Right. The diadem. There was a where Ravenclaw's diadem, like a little
Ravenclaw's, tiara.
Oh, okay, right.
Then you have the Hufflepuff cup.
Yep.
And then the Slytherin locket, that has an S on it from his mother. And then
Gryffindor something?
No.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think anything
sword,
from
right? So
no.
I can't remember.
I don't think anything's from Gryffindor. I don't think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking they're not.
The one thing that is Gryffindor, I don't want to, if we're going to spoil it, it's Harry. Because Harry is that last one. Harry is an actual Horcrux. Yeah. That's what, like I said, spoiler alert, if you guys have not seen any of Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2, because they explained it. If you're watching this one and haven't watched Deathly Hallows Part 2, they explain that, that's the big reveal for that he is the Horcrux that he didn't mean to make. He didn't mean to make Harry.
It was when he, so it had, we'll talk about that when we get to Deathly Hallows. We won't dive into that just yet, but because I, again, don't really remember much from Deathly Hallows.
We're just explaining all the Horcruxes because they become a main factor at the end of this movie. So that's why I just had to throw that out there.
For sure.
Well, the other thing that bothered me a little bit was, speaking of the Ravenclaw diadem with tiara, it's mentioned in the book when he goes into the room of requirement to hide his potions book, that there's this tiara. Like, he hides it in this specific spot and finds this like bust that has a tiara on it, and that comes up again in the next book.
Right.
Well, the way it happens in the movie with Ginny going with them, and Ginny's the one who hides it. When so you don't see the tiara at all. So it kind of bothered me a little bit. I was like, you don't get that like
Easter egg kind of,
that kind of tease, tease. Yeah, there's a lot of things they did in this movie that just, like, if they just did it certain ways, it would make this movie better. Like, it would make it better if they just went a certain direction like they would in the book, you know. Especially, like, I'm going to throw it out there, Dumbledore's funeral. Like, I felt like that should have been an important thing to happen in this movie, knowing he's been a very important person to Harry. The fact that we don't get to see a funeral, it's a little upsetting. And I get it. Like I said, they don't have
see
enough
the wand
time.
raising thing that happens.
That's
stuff,
cool, but I mean, like, come on, it's Dumbledore, guys. It's Dumbledore, guys.
I kind of agree with you, Alex. Like, the teenage love stuff gets a little old, but at the same time, they're teenagers. Like, it's part of being a teenager, and so I don't mind its inclusion. And I actually really love the Quidditch scene with Ron, getting to see Ron finally play Quidditch, and thinking that he's got the luck juice or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
and then finding out that he actually just thought he had it, and so he did it on his own. I love that. But the whole lavender stuff and
McLaggen,
and the whole McLaggen stuff.
Dragon
it's
Balls.
just
I
feel like we could have gotten rid of a little of that to see more of the Horcrux stuff or the Half-Blood Prince stuff or something, you know? So
I have to say, one of the parts I enjoyed was when Harry first gets the potions book and he's like sailing through the class and Hermione is getting more and more bedraggled and like stressed out. Like, I just thought that was really funny. I thought that was...
I'm literally on that scene right now. Like, it's about to happen where, the book is destroyed. He's just like, these ingredients are all cut out and he's doing all the stuff. And he crushes the thing. He's like, no, it says you have to cut it. Like, no, crush it. Like, that doesn't make sense. You can't cut it. And he's just doing everything. He got the potion, obviously, and everybody's looking like, what the hell? Like, how did he do this so good?
Hermione's reaction is great. Like, her hair's all kind of disheveled and she's just like...
Yeah.
Like,
she's just upset. She's upset.
It should be me. How do you guys feel about Professor Horace Slughorn, played by Jim Broadbent?
I thought he was good. I enjoyed his character. Very charismatic. Very, he's a character as well. Like, he's just, just a little over the top. You feel like he's drunk all the time. You just feel like he just has a little bit. Like, he had to took a little something to drink just, before he started class. He has very weird facial expressions. Like, there's a scene where he's having the little dinner with them, and Ginny walks in. He just has a weird face, like when he looks at him, when she walks in. He's a character for sure. And it's funny because he's the same actor shows up in Game of Thrones, and he's not like that at all in Game of Thrones at all. Yeah,
Jim Broadbent, I think, is a wonderful actor, and I think does a fantastic job in this movie. I think he plays the character very well. And he is a little cartoonish with his facial expressions and stuff like that. And but I really like also that he's such a strong actor that when we get towards the end and we learn that the memory had been altered, messed with, had been falsified. I remember him he pulls it out of his head and he's telling Harry, like, please don't judge me. He's like, I'm ashamed of this. And so he brings that kind of depth to the role, I think. That is works very well. So I really like Slughorn a lot. He's one of the shining kind of stars of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
I one of the other things I love about his character is he has no problem remembering Ginny Weasley's name. Because when she comes in, she'd been crying with Dean or whatever. She comes late to the party. He's like, "Oh, Miss Weasley." But every time he sees Ron, he's like, Mr. Wembley or whatever. He can't remember, even though it's the same name. He cannot remember Ron's name. Yeah.
What did you think of the part where I can't remember what happened exactly, but something happened and Hermione and Ron and Harry get called into McGonagall's office, and she's like, why is it that anytime something happens, it's the three of you are always in the middle of it?
Right.
And Ron says, I've been asking myself that for 6 years.
Yeah.
It's that girl gets cursed.
I love that.
She's got that book or whatever. And she goes up in the air and,
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I love that. I love that someone finally pointed out, why is it always you guys going through this entire stuff in the school? No one else is going through the same dramatic things that you guys have gone through. Why is it always you guys? And I just want somebody to say, we're friends with Harry Potter. That's why. We're friends with this guy, and he is the reason why we have traumatic lives. Like, it's his fault. Even though he doesn't want it to be.
I liked Ron's response, though, where he's like, I've been asking myself the same thing for 5 years or whatever he says, or 6 years.
Ron, you know the answer. The reason why the reason why the Triwizard Tournament happened the way it happened because he's Harry Potter. Like, you probably would have not been involved at all if Harry was not involved. So right,
it's very true. That would have. I liked Ron's response, but that would have been a better response. But we're like, well, It's his fault. Like,
Yeah, that would have been hilarious. I would love that. And then I love that he kind of just accepted it because everyone's saying, oh, he's the chosen one. He's the chosen one. I like that they kind of more put that on him. Like, oh, yeah, you're the one that's supposed to do this. Even Dumbledore says, like, you're the one that has to do this. You're the one that has to go out and do this stuff. And he kind of just accepts it and like, man, I'm the chosen one, man. I'm that guy.
I actually like that moment a lot with between him and Hermione. Where she goes, she only likes you because she thinks you're the chosen one. He goes, I am the chosen one.
I am the chosen one. Like, what do you mean? I am.
He's like,
right.
Like, sorry, just kidding.
No, I would have showed that I am the chosen one. I'm the one that has to stop Voldemort. No one else can stop him besides me.
Right. Hermione keeps him grounded, though. I like it.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a question for you about the vanishing cabinet or whatever it was called. Vanishing whatever. I assume the reason Malfoy keeps going to it is to just make sure that it's like working, because he puts the apple in there, and then the apple comes back and it's got a bite out of it, which is very mysterious. And then he puts a bird in there, I guess to try to make sure a living thing can be transported. But when the bird comes back, it's dead. So was that just he put it in there and Bellatrix like killed it and then sent it back? I guess because she's crazy. I was just curious why he kept going so many times to like put stuff in it.
Yeah, you were right about that. I think he's going to just make sure it's still working because it's the two-way way to show them to get to Hogwarts. I was confused when I first saw it about the bird, and I'm thinking like, oh, maybe he is trying to see whether or not a living thing, because it's different when it's a non-living thing can go transfer between vanishing cabinets, but when a living thing went through and it came back dead, I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Right. Well, it's like it's dark. It's kind of makes for a dark moment, and you're like, what is he doing? Because we don't know exactly what's up yet. So it's like, what's going on with this? But you would think if Bellatrix did like kill the bird and then send it back, that doesn't tell the right thing to Malfoy. Like Malfoy would immediately be like, we can't use the vanishing cabinet to have you guys come in. You'll die, And then she's like, no, I killed the bird. And he's like, well, why would you do that? Like that tells me that it doesn't work.
Yeah, also, I think it's also conflicting for Malfoy because you hear him kind of crying like during that scene when he gets the bird back. So I thought like when I watched it a couple times, I thought, oh, maybe this is just a way to conflict Malfoy in his choices because he's eventually going to have to.
Which makes sense.
He was the one supposed to kill Dumbledore. He was the one supposed to do it. So the fact that the object or the bird comes back dead and he has to be up to muster to kill someone. Right.
It's a reminder of like what he's supposed to do.
Right.
And you could just tell that he's not sure. When we know what his task is, we know that he's the one that's supposed to kill Dumbledore. Seeing that dead bird and seeing his reaction to it just tells us this kid's not going to be able to do this. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which I love. Yeah. I think that's so great. But again, it does not make sense that he put a live bird in there, gets a dead one back, and then is like, yeah, the vanishing cabinet works, guys. Come on through. Yeah. It's just like,
yeah. Do you guys know that first this movie was supposed to come out in 2008 at first, and then it got delayed. So it was supposed to come out in November of 2008, then it got delayed to the summer of 2009. And I was trying to do research and to figure out why that was. And I thought it's because it was like a writer strike or something going on. I think it was a writer strike going on around this time.
There was a writer strike in like 2008 or maybe it was 2009. Well, it was right around that time.
So I was thinking maybe that was the reason why it got pushed back. It was weird because the marketing was just so strange. So many trailers. They had like 4 or 5 trailers to this movie. Like the first trailer was hinting that it was going in the direction I thought it was gonna go, and then it just obviously it didn't. Like they were honing in the fact that we're gonna go into Voldemort's past and figure out, did Dumbledore know that he was going to be a dark wizard? And I just feel like like we talked about earlier, I just hate that they kind of neglected all that stuff. I wanted to know who Voldemort was in the past.
Right.
Well, how did he become this evil being? How did he become Lord Voldemort? How did that happen? And I'm not even like getting on top of it. I would love to see a prequel trilogy or prequel of that. Give me the origin of Voldemort. Give me Voldemort's origin. Why is he this evil? Because it's funny, we get the second flashback. He kind of has those tendencies already. He's already trying to learn how to split his soul into 7 pieces. And he's like, at this time, 15? Like, how did he get from the kid getting picked up from Dumbledore to that point? what happened?
Right. I do really like that memory when we finally get to see the true version of the memory, and we learn that he's talking about Horcruxes.
Yeah.
And finding out that the way to split your soul is by murdering somebody. And he's like, well, can you do it more than once? Like, say 7 times? And Slughorn's like, it's bad enough that you're talking about killing one person. You're talking about doing it 7 times?
Yeah.
And he's, like, he goes, this is all hypothetical, right? And he's like, of course. He's just like,
yeah.
You can just tell from, he's got some bad plans.
Yeah.
But it's a great scene.
The one thing I do like about this movie that we do kind of focus more on the school life of these movies of Hogwarts. Obviously, Goblet of Fire was the Tribe of the Tournament, so we didn't get that much of them being in school because we had to focus on the Tribe of the Tournament. In Order to Phoenix, which I do love both of those movies. Goblet of Fire is my favorite. I wasn't on for that episode, but that is my favorite movie of all these movies. And even Order to Phoenix, we kind of got Harry teaching everybody instead of them actually have classes. Like this one, we kind of get more of the actual school. Like we see them going to certain classes, and we get Quidditch back. I felt like Quidditch was we seen
we've been missing
Quidditch in the first
couple of movies.
Yeah, the first two, the last
it
two
made
movies,
me
no
happy,
Quidditch.
that's for sure.
Yeah, it was good to see Quidditch
I enjoyed
back.
watching the Quidditch scene too.
Because they, obviously had Quidditch in the book.
Right.
So I was missing it. So I was very happy to see that.
Yeah.
For sure.
And
I also like to see that it looked like
was it a technical
Harry was
reason?
kind of almost the captain of the team. I don't know if he is captain of the team,
He
but he was
captain.
the one holding the tryouts. Yeah, so that was cool to see.
He is the captain. He is the captain,
Yeah.
and Ginny is the co-captain, which is crazy
That's
because
cool.
Ginny is on the team and we didn't know. Like she's just on the team,
Right. And Ron hasn't gotten on the
Exactly.
team yet. Yeah, it's just kind of crazy.
Yeah, all of a sudden they're there.
Right,
And,
yeah.
And that's another thing that was probably explained in other books, and we didn't get that. We didn't get to see that.
Yeah. At first, because again, I don't know if I said this on the podcast. I told you guys before we started recording, but I don't think I'd actually watched this movie from beginning to end since I had seen it in the theater. So this is the first time I've really rewatched the whole thing. So when they're kind of hinting at in the beginning of the film, when they're kind of hinting at the Harry Ginny thing, I was thinking, oh, because I remember they get together in the next book, or at least the spoiler for the last movie, they show the whole like fast forward type thing.
Yeah, the epilogue.
And I was like, that's cool, because I think by the time this movie came out, the last book had come out. And so the filmmakers knew that, so they were putting in hints for what's to come. I did not remember that they kiss in this movie, that they basically become an item in this movie. I was like, oh, never mind. That's all just in this film, not the next film. So that was kind of I just forgot, I knew that he ended up with Ginny, but I didn't remember that it was started in this movie.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I didn't like their first kiss in the movie. I liked it the way they did it in the book better.
Oh.
After Harry does that Sectum Sempra spell to Draco, Snape gives him like weeks of detentions on Saturdays, which means he can't play Quidditch. And so after a detention with Snape, he comes back to, it actually might have been the final Quidditch game that he's not allowed to play in. And he comes back to the Gryffindor common room and they're all celebrating because they actually won. And Ginny comes running towards him and he just, takes advantage of the moment and kisses her in front of Ron, and Ron is grudgingly okay with it. But I like that better than the way it happened in the movie. But
Yeah.
Definitely better in the book. This one is just kind of out of nowhere. Like she tells him to close your eyes and just kisses him and then disappears. It's like, hold on, you don't get to just kiss me and disappear. You don't get to do that. No, that's not right.
Right.
And then don't say anything about it. He just walks away like, hey, how you doing? No, I love the scene. Like, did you get it done? He's like, wait, what are you talking about? He's confused with what they're asking him. He's like, oh yeah, I got rid of the book. That's what you guys are talking about.
Right. Now that you mention it, him doing the Secta Sempura, whatever spell you said it was, on Draco, there are like no consequences for that in the movie. Nope. Snape shows up, kind of glares at him, and Snape undoes it. But Harry gets to go about. He basically almost murdered Malfoy, and
he just feels bad about it. That's it. We just get a scene of him sulking with Ginny, and everybody's like, you need to get rid of the book. That's it.
Right. Yeah. You don't need to. No, like you need to go.
Get help.
I don't know what. There's not
get
like Hogwarts jail, but it's like
Right.
maybe you should go talk to McGonagall or something since Dumbledore's not here.
Well,
like
they do
Snape's
have
gonna
a
come after
cell.
you.
They do have a cell on top of the castle, so they can probably put him there.
that's true.
There's
That's
a
where
cell that
Sirius was.
exists.
That's true.
Yeah. Put him there for a couple of days.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's just like no consequences for almost murdering another student.
I do like that scene though. The way it plays out, because it's no music. And it's just them like waving their wands, like, you know, doing magic spells without even saying the spells, which I do like. And then we finally hear him say the spell, and then he like just hits Draco. It's like, oh, how bad was it? He's like bleeding out.
Yeah.
It's like,
then Janelle, you can correct me. Is that scene a little bit more like horrific in the book? Yeah, because I remember kind of like waiting for that scene in the movie, and then thinking, oh, that's it. That's all they. I mean, he's bleeding, but it's not like. I remember it being like crazy in the book.
Yeah, it was. I was going to say because he didn't know what that spell was.
Right.
Mhm.
And so when he sees that he's bleeding out practically, he's mortified. I mean, he's like, and he runs over and he's trying to help him. And he's like, just completely mortified at what he did. And Snape comes in and he actually goes into Harry's mind to like figure out
what he did.
And of course, sees the book. And he says, you wait here. He takes Draco to the hospital wing and comes back and demands to see Harry's book bag and books. And so Harry runs to the Gryffindor common room and trades out his book with Ron and takes that back to Snape. And Snape's like, this is your book. And it has the weird Ron Wembley name in it that Slughorn gave him.
Right.
I don't remember why, but like his name written in it is like,
not
some
Ron
weird
Weasley?
name. It's
Yeah.
not Ron Weasley.
Weird.
But he's like, so and he gives him weeks worth of detentions. He's like, you're going to spend every Saturday with me. And then he takes it and hides the wheel book in the room of requirement. But yeah, it was a lot more dramatic, a lot more like Harry's response, I thought in the movie was like,
yeah, it's not.
I mean, I get it. He was in shock maybe, but he just
just runs off. He's like, I don't care if he dies or not. That's kind of that's the impression I kind of get is Harry's like, whatever. It's not, I mean, he feels a little bad about it, it seems like, but not to the point where he's like, I do kind of wish there was him being like, I didn't know that was going to happen. Something like that. But instead he's just like, all right, see ya. And like, runs off.
It's weird because the way Daniel Radcliffe gave a performance in Order of the Phoenix, like I think about the scene where he loses Sirius and he like screams.
Yeah.
Like I love the backstory behind that scene. Like I know we're talking about Half-Blood Prince, but in that scene, like he lost a family member. He lost somebody close to him. So they said the scream was so horrific that they had to mute it because it was so way he sounded it was too much. So they muted it, and it works better when it's muted. To me it works better.
Right.
But it's like you give that performance and you come into this movie, and like I just said, Daniel Radcliffe's performance is just a little off, and I think he was so-called drinking a lot around this time. Like Daniel Radcliffe was going through a time. I think around when he was making this movie, you could definitely tell. And I think that's why they added the liquid luck scene. The liquid luck scene is hilarious because he's walking around like he's drunk the whole time,
Yeah, I do like that. I kind of like that too when he takes it and they're like, okay, we need to go see Slughorn. He's like, I'm gonna go to Hagrid's.
I just feel confident that I need to go to Hagrid, and he's right because Slughorn was in the midst of him going to Hagrid. He was right.
Maybe there's more to this. Maybe I like this movie a little bit more than I let on in the beginning.
The teeps. What Harry said, it's the teeps that.
Right.
I love him. I love Daniel Radcliffe in this movie. Like I said, his performance is not the greatest in all the movies, but I do love him in this movie. I maybe could I just love the Harry Potter character. So.
So it's right before the girl gets cursed. He's looking at the book, and I do see the name of the spell, but it's like blink and you miss it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I'm not surprised I didn't see it the first time I watched this movie, but is that the only time we see the name of the spell?
Yes.
I think so.
Wow.
That's the only
and
time we see the name of the spell.
And it happens so much earlier than when he actually uses it on Draco.
Exactly.
That I could even see myself, even if I had seen it, not even registering that it was the same spell.
Yep.
Yeah, I couldn't remember when we saw it, but I knew it wasn't for very long.
Right. It's right before they go to the Three Broomsticks, which, by the way, according to IMDb trivia, which I say you always have to kind of take with a grain of salt because I think anybody with IMDb Pro or whatever can go in there and write whatever. But supposedly they designed the three broomsticks for Universal Studios, and then they took those designs and just used it for the movie. They like made it look, you'd think it would be the other way around. They designed it for the movie, and then the theme park took those designs and changed it for their. But apparently it was the opposite. They created the three broomsticks for Harry Potter, the Wizarding World at Universal Studios, and then the movie just took those designs and used them for the movie, which I kind of find hilarious. But I don't know if that's true or not, but I'd like to think it is. And it does look like the three broomsticks that I remember seeing at Universal Studios. But anyway, they go to, that's after the, so it happens, seeing that spell is long before he actually ends up using it on Malfoy.
Yeah, this is where we had that long, extensive time in winter, like where it's snowing right now, and it's going to be snowing for this long because they ain't even go on break yet because they're still in school. They ain't going on break yet.
I assume this is in like Hogsmeade or something, right?
Yeah, it was in Hogsmeade. Yeah. Or they're on their way walking from Hogsmeade back to the castle.
Right.
You mentioned about non-verbal spells, because that's a big emphasis in year 6, apparently, at Hogwarts, is learning how to do non-verbal spells.
Yep.
And one spell that's in the potions book that Harry does is Leva Corpus, which is, it hangs people by their feet, by their ankles, upside down. And Harry saw his dad do that to Snape.
Right.
When he looked into Snape's memory.
Yep.
And so he, for a little while there, wonders if the Half-Blood Prince is his dad, even though he's not.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like he figures that out. He's like, well, that can't be right. But he's kind of hopeful. He's like, well, maybe it's my dad.
Yeah, I remember that.
And the book, I assume, explains why Snape calls himself the Half-Blood Prince, like where the name the Half-Blood Prince comes from.
Yes.
Which I was gonna ask if Janelle you're gonna get into that because obviously that's not talked about in this movie.
Not at all.
It pisses me off every single time when I watch it. I'm like, we're not. The title is called Half-Blood Prince, and we get one line from Snape that he is the prince, but we don't understand why at all. It's just thrown out. I remember. Because, this movie's called Half-Blood Prince. Throw it in there.
Right. Snape's reveal that he is the Half-Blood Prince, I remember, happens similarly in the book, but I remember it being and I don't remember how it happens exactly in the book, but I remember sitting in the theater, and when it comes on the screen and he's like, yes, I'm the Half-Blood Prince, and then like walks off, and then we go to the next scene, I remember just being like, that was it? Like, it just felt so glossed over that I remember just kind of being upset about it. So clearly they go into it a little bit more in the book, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's half-blood.
Right.
And his mother's name is Eileen Prince.
Right.
That's where the prince comes from. Because he's not actually
a prince. Right.
A prince. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, that's pretty much the explanation for Half-Blood Prince in terms of the name, where that came from. Not a very dramatic.
Right. Not really a big reveal, but makes sense. He's half-blood. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Right. And his mother's name is Prince. But, I'm trying to remember, because I do remember, he does talk about Harry using his own spells against him, but I think it's because it's after Snape has killed Dumbledore that we find that out.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that whole scene is a little bit more dramatic too, because, when Snape leaves with the other Death Eaters, and Harry's going after him, and using his spells against him. And they also attack Hagrid's cabin,
right?
His hut or whatever, and it set it on fire and attack Hagrid. And Hagrid's trying to get in to get his dog. And Harry's basically in shock. And he tries to tell Hagrid what happened. And he's like, because Hagrid says something like, oh, it'll be fine. Dumbledore will take care of it kind of thing. And Harry's like, nope. And he's trying to tell him Dumbledore's dead. Snape killed him. And Hagrid, he doesn't believe him. He's like, what? What are you talking about? It's
like, no, of course Dumbledore's not dead. Right.
Yeah. So it's like that whole scene altogether is much more, Harry is just in shock and trying to tell Hagrid what happened. And he's trying to wrap his head around the fact that this just happened.
Right.
Snape's not a good guy after all, and it's just.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it was more because I do like the scene where he's going after Snape and being like, "Fight back, you coward." You know, he trusted you. I like all that, but I maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was just there was more in the book to make you kind of feel like, wow, Snape really is a bad guy. You know, like, and the movie just doesn't really do that as much, other than him obviously killing Dumbledore. But it's just, I don't know. There was something. I'll have to reread the book and then kind of see maybe what I was thinking. But after watching these movies and talking with you, I'm gonna have to just marathon reread all 7 of them again because I clearly need to.
Yeah, I started reading them. I got through Sorcerers. To me, like the first 3 is so easy to get through. You can get through those 3. So once you get into Goblet of Fire and Order of the Phoenix, like Goblet of Fire is such a deep book. I read that when I was in like 3rd grade, and I'm like, this is definitely over my reading level. I should not be reading this because this is huge. But I was a fan of the series, so I got through the book. But it's funny. One of my subscribers sent me the book series. So I was like, cool. It's time for me to actually read them since I got sent to them. Someone sent them.
That's awesome. Them. Very, very cool. The cave, when Harry and Dumbledore go to the cave, number one, I have 2 notes about that. Number one, they apparate to that rock that's in like the middle of the ocean. Yeah. And I was thinking, like, if I was Harry, I'd been like, could you not have apparated us like over there? You know, like, how are we going to get over there? Because there was like all these like waves hitting the rocks and everything. Like maybe he was going to apparate a second. I don't know. But I was just, it was obviously dramatic. It was a cool shot and everything. But I was just thinking like, this is not very good. And then I don't know what they are, kind of zombie-esque creatures that kind of come out of the water and attack Harry.
They call it
this movie is PG. Goblet of Fire and Order were both PG-13. I was surprised that this one was PG because
that was one of my major problems with it. It's weird that it's PG, and I was confused. Yeah, I'm like, why is this PG? And that whole scene is horrifying with Harry getting pulled into the water by the actual like the creatures, and that was pretty. I remember when I first saw them, like, this is pretty scary.
In the book, they're dead people.
Oh, they are.
That's what they are.
Okay, yeah. I was playing Hogwarts Legacy, and they call them Infuries in the game, so that's what I call them now.
Yeah, like the dead that come to life. Yeah.
Wow. So they basically are zombies, essentially. Yeah.
Basically. Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. In the game, in the Hogwarts game, there's points where you go in their area and you can see them coming out of the ground. Like they come out of the ground, and you only can kill them with fire. Like fire is the only thing that can kill them.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Hearing you talk about the game, Alex, makes me really want to buy the game. I really wish I had the money to buy that game.
Yes. That
and Spider-Man 2 just came out, and I really want to play that.
Oh, man. But Spider-Man 2, I'm lost of words with that game. Like I said, I don't want to say anything else about it, but I am lost of words with that game. But Hogwarts Legacy, I definitely recommend that. If you're a Harry Potter fan, if you love the Wizarding World, buy it right now. That game is every Harry Potter fan's dream. The castle is so detailed. The wand work is amazing. You get to fly the broom. I wish Quidditch was in the game. Quidditch is not in the game. But I figured they're probably saving that for a sequel. Like they're going to go more in that part for a sequel. But yeah, buy Hogwarts Legacy if you guys have not had it. It's on PS4 and PS5. So if you don't have a PS5, you can buy it on PS4. Or Xbox 360, Xbox One or whatever.
The only other thing I had to mention was the final, or the scene with Snape kills Dumbledore. Yeah. It plays out a little bit differently in the book because when Harry went with Dumbledore to get the last Horcrux, he had his invisibility cloak with him, so he was wearing that. And they don't apparate back to Hogwarts. They apparate like in Hogsmeade.
You can't apparate in Hogwarts.
Right, exactly.
So they just kind of bend that rule for the movie because
Dumbledore says, I'm Dumbledore, I can do it.
Being me.
Yeah, exactly. Dumbledore can like undo some of the spells.
Right.
But so they operate into Hogsmeade and fly brooms because the death mark was already up in the sky over Hogwarts. And so they fly to Hogwarts to the astronomy tower. So Harry is still under his invisibility cloak when Draco shows up.
Right.
And right before Draco disarmed Dumbledore, he cast a Petrificus Totalis spell on Harry and froze him, basically. So Harry was stuck, like he couldn't do anything.
Wow.
He was totally helpless and had to watch all of this play out. and watch Dumbledore die. And once he died, the spell lifted and he was, freed from the spell. But I thought the way they did it in the movie still made sense, because part of me was like, why didn't he do something? Like, why didn't he, but
I think
he thought Snape was on their side, so it makes sense that he wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah, because Snape is the one that told him, don't be quiet, don't do anything. It's funny that he gets hit with the frozen spell like twice, because Draco hits it with him in the beginning of
you're right, in the beginning of the movie.
And then if that happened again in the second, in the ending, that would have been pretty messed up that he got frozen twice.
I don't mind it the way it is in the movie, with Snape showing up and telling him to be quiet and him thinking, okay, like Snape's got this. But I think I like it better, him being stunned and Snape not knowing that Harry is there.
Yeah.
Because I think that makes it even more, like, it makes Harry think even more so that Snape is a bad guy.
Yeah.
He didn't know I was there watching him and all that stuff. So I think, I almost kind of like that better. I wish they had kind of done it that way, honestly.
For sure.
You're right. I didn't think about that. The fact that Snape saw Harry, whereas in the book he didn't see Harry.
Yeah.
Right.
It does add a different element.
All right, well, let's go into a rating system. Janelle stays impartial when it comes to the movies, so it's just you and I, Alex. So, Alex, what would you rate out of 5 stars Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince?
I'm biased. I'm still gonna give it a solid 4 out of 5. Even though I said about my issues. It's a Harry Potter movie. I'm going to watch it regardless of when I binge the series. I don't skip it. I watch it. There is some enjoyable elements of it. It's all my favorite characters doing what they do. Regardless of how I don't like the way the movie looks, like color palette wise. It's still a Harry Potter movie at the end of the day, So I give it a solid 4 wands out of 5.
Yeah, it's a good score. I'm not going to go I think I was going to go a little lower originally. But with talking about it, I'm kind of reminded of stuff I really enjoyed. I don't know if it's a pacing issue, but there's something about it makes the movie feels a little long to me. And
yeah, it does feel long.
I do like the end. I like the whole, the stuff in the cave is okay, but I kind of really, once they get back to Hogwarts, Malfoy and the Death Eaters and Snape and all that stuff, I like all that stuff pretty much to the end of the film. For me, I think it would be, I'm going to go 3.5, I think. 3.5 wands. I think it's, like you said, it's a Harry Potter movie, still good. I will say, though, because I didn't love Order when I first saw it. Again, I think I'd read the books too recently or something. I didn't love Order when I first saw it. I didn't like this movie when I saw it. It made me, when I found out David Yates was doing the last 2, I was like,
oh, wow.
This is not, I was really disappointed because I didn't think he was good because I didn't like these 2. But when we get to Deathly Hallows, I'll tell you what my thoughts were for those films.
Okay.
But yeah,
I think I can agree. I can agree with you on that, because I remember when I watched Goblet of Fire and the Order of Phoenix came out, I was like, it just doesn't feel the same. Like the tone,
right?
I love the tone of Goblet, and I wish they would have stayed that tone.
Yeah,
especially the way the movie looks. I just love the way Goblet of Fire looks as a movie. And then you get to Order, it just looks, you definitely tell it's a different filmmaker made that movie for sure.
Yeah, I like Order more now. I didn't like it as much when I saw it in the theater, but now, since I can't really remember the book, and Janelle told us like all the stuff that I did not remember at all, I actually kind of like Order of the Phoenix now. I think it's actually a pretty decent movie. This movie I still struggle with a little bit, but not like, I don't hate this movie, but obviously I give it 3.5. Right. But compared to the other Harry Potter movies, so far, I think this one's at the bottom of my list if I were to rank the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah, same. Not counting the Fantastic Beasts movies.
Right. No, not counting those 3. That's not. Yeah. We might talk about those movies eventually, but we're not. Yeah, we're not. I'm not including those right now. But I'm just, out of the first 6, this one would be in spot 6. Know, so. Well, we'd love to know what you think about Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. You can always let us know at cinemaheroes.com. You can also tweet at us or comment on our Instagram. Both handles are at Cinema Heroes. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment down below what you think of the movie. Give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I think that about wraps it up for this episode, though. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm Alex Thomas.
I'm Janelle Speck.
As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing.